Well, whether we like it or not, it is the beginning of the era in which the world is starting to look like the Matrix, where algorithms could think, speak, and even act like humans. The not-so-complete examples of generative artificial intelligence, the likes of ChatGPT, have arrived to change our lives, and how. For the better, says Bill Gates, the billionaire founder of Microsoft, which owns the inventor of ChatGPT, OpenAI. In a blog post last month, Gates declared the age of artificial intelligence has begun and said it is as revolutionary as mobile phones and the internet. He went on to claim that AI can even reduce some of the world's worst inequities. While that may take some time, for now, generative AI is making lives easier, from turning napkin sketches into fully functional websites and summarizing long YouTube videos to turning text into graphic art and making music. They do it all, and what these human-like bots do not do now, they will perhaps do in the near future. And that's where the fear lies. What if it is used for propaganda and to spread misinformation? In an open letter last month that had Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak amongst its signatories, called for a pause on training AI systems that are more powerful than GPT-4 for at least 6 months, adding, and I quote, that if we were to get ahead of ourselves and train these machines to be better than us, it would pose a profound risk to society and humanity, end of quote. Sam Altman, the inventor of ChatGPT, also pondered that generative AI needs a gradual transition for us all to be able to process and understand what's really happening. Altman even confessed, and I quote, "We are a little scared." Well, the big question then is, should we be? Hello and welcome to Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shereen Bhan. To give us a glimpse into the future and tell us whether generative AI will be a boon or a bane, joining me now on the show is Khare, partner at Lightspeed India, Anirudh, Singla, the founder and CEO of Pepper Content, and Pratyush, the co-founder of Merlin. In fact, both Pepper Content and Merlin have leveraged the power of ChatGPT, and they both say it is only the tip of the iceberg. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. You know, Dave, let me get started with you, and I think it was really nicely captured in a Project Syndicate article on generative AI, and it said that we need to pause on both the hype as well as the panic as far as generative AI is concerned. So let's get started with that, Dave, because this is something that a lot of people are talking about. I mean, every conversation, every CEO speaks about ChatGPT. It's sort of become the cute thing to do, but I don't know if the layperson or even corporate India today, or in fact globally, truly understand what is going on. So explain to me what we should be mindful of, what we should be fearful of, and where the opportunities lie.
Yeah, thanks, Shereen. Great to be here. In terms of opportunities and what we should be mindful of, I think the basic understanding we should all have is that there is a set of AI technologies coming along that generally called generative AI. OpenAI is one of them, and there's actually 100 other models out there. And then ChatGPT is one application built on top of OpenAI, and there will be many other applications. Kind of like there are many applications built on top of Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services. And so what we should be excited about, I think, is that there's a natural language interface coming here along with ChatGPT and other such applications. There is an engine that can reason and be programmed by human beings. And then there is a way to structure unstructured data. So these are three big properties of this platform that will enable a whole bunch of new applications, both consumer applications and enterprise. It's kind of like when the web came along in the mid-90s or smartphones came along in 2009, 2010. They enabled a whole set of new applications. So that's the opportunity. And it'll impact all sorts of areas. Could be education, because it's very content-driven. Could be commerce. Could be enterprise applications, and so on. So that's the opportunity. I think what we should be mindful of is that what goes into these engines, these AI engines, and then what comes out of it is non-deterministic. By that, I mean it's not predictable exactly. Unlike computer programs of the past where you said, what is 1 + 1? The answer would be 2. In this case, if you said, for example, what is Shereen Bhan's biography, it might come up with stuff that's true or not. So you don't know. So I think that's something we need to be aware of. But there are other issues like privacy, and then also reasoning, where it can create, these engines can create themselves and program themselves over time. And so that needs to be controlled. And we can talk about that today.
Yes, we will talk about that in just a second. But let me get Anirudh and Pratyush into the conversation, because both these gentlemen, through their companies, are actually building on some of the opportunities that you spoke of, Dave. So, Anirudh, let me get started by talking to you, because, and I know that you've said that, you were doing this before ChatGPT became the kind of phenomena that it has. So explain to me what you've seen over the last few years since you started Pepper Content. What exactly are you using AI to solve for at this point in time? What have you been able to leverage in terms of advantages?
Totally. First of all, thanks, Shereen, for having me here. Like you said, right, GPT-3, we were probably amongst the first few 500 users of GPT-3 across the globe when it launched. And we've been in constant touch with the OpenAI team from the start to build out a product called peppertype.ai. This was an AI writing assistant that we had built on top of the GPT-3. And our thesis has always been about democratizing content creation. And we believe every company is going to be a content company. And we've been helping businesses scale content production for the largest time. And our first insight was that AI will definitely play an interesting role in content creation. So how can we leverage that? We started scaling the business. Shereen, this started out as a side product. And within 3 months, we started seeing amazing traction. We had users from hundreds of countries starting to already pick up. And we had we were a team of 150 people, just 3-4 people working on the same. Over the next 1.5 2 years, we've seen over 500,000 users use PepperType. And it's obviously we're a B2B company, so we haven't seen consumerized scale, but seeing that rapid growth, tens of thousands of users coming every month, one thing was clear, that this was clicking. And majority of businesses were discovering our entire ecosystem of Pepper through PepperType. We saw, and very interestingly, Yale University became one of our customers through PepperType. Someone from the medical department started discovering this. Or users from Spotify, AWS, Uber. We started seeing people in these companies starting to pick up and adapt to PepperType. And that's where, this unique insight came, that I think content marketing will play, AI will play a huge role in content marketing. And how can we use that to automate workflows, democratize creation? And we've been of the opinion that it's not human or AI, it's human plus AI. I think as technology advanced and analytics has advanced, it has made people 10x more productive. And that's what we see. We still have a strong creative talent marketplace. And we have hundreds of creators, thousands of creators leveraging AI to do much better. And while obviously, so we work with customers across the US and India, while for marketing and CMOs. And we're starting to see exciting adoption of AI scale up. And Shereen, let me tell you, this is not just text. Yesterday night, I was looking at text to video models. I think if you watch the movie Her, right, I see that happening real soon, which is we'll have AI assistants talking to us in terms of multimedia content, and this is just the starting point. And I think we're already seeing exciting activity in India with the generative AI buzz. And I think it's an amazing time for the ecosystem overall to embrace this and leapfrog into the next decade for us.
Yeah, well, the movies are all now seeming more real as we speak today, Anirudh. But let me get Pratyush into the conversation as well, and to build on what we just heard there from you. Pratyush, the productivity argument is the one that's being made, that, look, this is going to do wonderful things as far as productivity is concerned, that this is not evolutionary, that this is going to be revolutionary just in terms of its impact. So I want to understand from you, because you're a very nascent player, started barely at the end of December 2022. What has the experience been like for you, and what do you see as the playing field from here?
First of all, thank you for having me over here, Shereen. When we started off Merlin somewhere about in early December, we were originally just tinkering with the OpenAI GPT-3 model. What we realized that when our friends and family started to use Merlin to perform a lot of actions like editing emails or writing LinkedIn posts or writing titles for their YouTube videos, we realized that the applications for this, this emerging tech is not just, relevant to just writing, cool poems or, just creating stories for your kids. It's something which really impacts your day-to-day productivity. And we originally did not expect to have such a rapid growth, but in just last 4 months, we have got to somewhere about 600,000 users, more than 500,000 users, out of which almost 90% of them have enabled us. So we are like active on their browser on a daily basis. What we realized when we were growing is that on every website, whether you are on YouTube, whether you are on Substack, Medium, on every website there are some very targeted use cases which you can solve for and which can enhance the productivity or the user experience of the user who is using that particular website. So, for example, one of our most popular features in Merlin is YouTube summarization feature, which helps students or any average YouTube watcher summarize any long video, and they use it for their lectures, for long podcasts, or any kind of infotainment videos which they are watching. And yeah, that our journey so far has been sort of exponential, and we are just doubling down on it. And I think this entire revolution which ChatGPT has started, it's going to end to be much larger revolution than even the computer revolution. It's going to completely eat the entire software industry.
Okay, well, I think that's what statements like that are the ones that cause the fear in the minds of people. So, Dave, let's address some of those concerns as well. And thanks, Pratyush, for this idea, because maybe, I don't know how many people will want to spend 30 minutes watching Young Turks on YouTube. If they use Merlin, they can get a sharp synopsis of the program, and perhaps that's the way forward. But Dave, let's address this issue of the concerns. One is the concern that, look, given the fact that it's only the large incumbents at this point in time that are really dominating this space, given the kind of investments as well as the advance in technology required, that it is only going to create bigger and bigger monopolies. Anyway, we're living in an era of big tech. This is going to make big tech even bigger. Let's address that concern first.
I think this, it's a possibility, and technology tends to trend that way in general. But I'd say in every generation of new technology that's come along, there's been this fear. When the web came along, people thought that an Amazon would be absolutely dominant in every aspect of the web. There are hundreds of vendors on the web today, if not thousands, tens of thousands. When the mobile phone came along, people thought that one company would dominate. There are a couple of big companies in that space, but there are thousands of other companies. Most of the ecosystem in countries like India and the US are built on top of mobile operating systems out there. So there is this fear, but I think there is also a way where government, private systems, private companies, and then the public sector in general, and nonprofits, the society has come together to chart the course forward. Sometimes it's through, self-regulation of these industries. Sometimes it's through light regulation from governments. Sometimes it's through some global sort of understanding. When it comes to AI, I think we're in the very early days. Nobody's dominant right now. OpenAI itself is a startup. And you've got, some regulatory approaches from countries like China coming in as well. I don't think it's a time for heavy regulation or even light. We're still discovering what's going on. Let's not, stop the growth of this thing before it's even started.
Okay, so how do you then respond to the call by Elon Musk and several others who have said that, let's pause on this for 6 months. Let's understand what we're dealing with. Let's see what is the regulatory framework, the regulatory architecture that we need to put in place to ensure that there is no abuse and misuse. Do you think that that is a fair ask, Dave?
No, I don't think so. I think that's unrealistic. What's going to happen and what ban are you going to put on what? This is a global capitalist economy. What global ban has ever worked on anything? I don't think that's possible. I think we just have to go forward respectfully and with intent to build technologies that benefit companies and consumers and governments. And we should have that conversation. It's absolutely a valid conversation. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think banning, helps. What happens in 6 months? Is the world going to be very different? No. What happens in a year? Bans don't work. I think we just have to have the discussion and put in some of the safeguards. An example would be consent-based stuff, like we're doing with we're doing with what's happening in India, but there could be other mechanisms as well.
Yeah, so bans don't work, and I think that's the conversation that's happening even as far as cryptocurrency is concerned here in India as well as globally, and what should be the global framework, perhaps, if at all there is the need for a global framework, because this is not one jurisdiction that can actually decide the course of these things, and I think that's the global conversation that's happening at this point in time. But Anirudh, let's address the other fear, and this is something that you spoke of as well. Now, there's a Goldman Sachs report that says 300 million full-time jobs could be lost due to the kind of automation that we're likely to see on account of the use of ChatGPT and other such applications. Now, how do you respond to that? Because you said it's not going to replace humans, it's going to be human plus.
Got it. Shereen, I think, I think it's every evolution of, it's human evolution in very simple terms, right? As technology becomes more and more stronger, I feel if we are to compare 5 functions that a human was doing earlier, right, definitely technology has the means to do those, say 4 out of those 5 functions even better, which basically means it's time how humans evolve and adapt to better skill set. And I feel what data science, machine learning, AI did, especially as an education framework over the last 10 years, where we've seen over hundreds and thousands of data scientists across the world. Data science has become an educational framework on which people have upskilled. I think AI is going to become that framework, which basically means we'll see over millions of AI jobs created, which involve dealing and working with AI on a day-to-day basis. And people get smarter about its usage and acquire more skills that allow them to get better. Like, you can clearly see that in our business, creators. So the answer is not creators will get disrupted or automated. It's creators who haven't been able to leverage and use AI well will probably be disrupted, which basically means it's also an opportunity for people to get better. And that's what we're seeing across different forums, different professions, be it accounting, be it law, be it content for that matter. And I think this will usher in a new knowledge economy where AI is actually a co-pilot in every task or function there is.
Yeah, so either adopt or you get left behind. I think that's the point that you're trying to make. But Pratyush, let's address one of the other concerns, and that really, or actually one of the hypotheses that's being put forward is that we are going to see massive productivity gains. But a lot of economists point out that through the course of the last 2 decades, even with the advent of new technologies, 2G, 4G, now we're talking about 5G and so on and so forth, there hasn't been that kind of productivity gain that was expected or anticipated that we've seen. So, are we overhyping this productivity gain argument?
Not like Web3 or any
Pratyush,
other.
you're on mute.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're fine now. Yeah, you're fine.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So, Shereen, I think it's absolutely not like that. This is similar to any of the previous technological waves, like, the VR, AR wave or the Web3 wave. Over here, we are seeing it clearly in the usage that people are actually using it for work-related use cases, and people are getting real direct benefits in their day-to-day lives. Let's say if you were a developer maybe 20, 30 years back, you would have to write code in C. Today, developers are writing it in Python. Like, Python is one of the most popular language. 5 to 10 years down the line, there's a good chance that we will be writing code in natural language. Just think about it. There are so many tools currently out there who are, automating SQL and, letting people write SQL queries in natural language. It's a massive productivity gain. Just think about it. Currently, there are 30 million developers. What if, using natural language, we can train 1 billion developers? that is something which is possible out of this new technology. And if you see, maybe in the short horizon, we are not seeing productivity gains using 2G, 4G, and these other stuff, right? But if we see using computers, what we have been able to achieve, or using internet, what we have been able to achieve, this kind of a shift which we are seeing through right now is an equivalent shift with respect to internet and with respect to computer. It's not something which is gimmicky or which is just a hype, because when you see actual usage, when you see a developer using natural language to write code, that is as real as it gets.
Yes, okay. So let's talk about how real it's going to get. And Dev, I want to address that issue with you. In your portfolio at Lightspeed, you've got, what, about 20 plus companies that you're betting on at this point in time. Take me through what excites you, and especially from an India point of view. You've got two gentlemen here who are already betting on this space. But what's happening in India within this ecosystem? What does the AI portfolio for Lightspeed look like? And what are the unexplored niches, Dev, that you potentially see headroom for significant growth?
Yeah, Lightspeed's portfolio, we've been investing in AI for the last 10 years. It's not a new thing. It's been on a gradual ramp, and I think we're seeing a very public, consumer-oriented sort of reaction now with ChatGPT. But we've got investments in three broad areas. And I think the ecosystem broadly breaks down into two broad areas. One is the large language models, or LLMs. These are companies like OpenAI. We've already talked about those. The second is the consumer-facing or enterprise-facing applications. Pepper and Merlin are examples of those, but there are lots of others in the market. We've got a company called Circle Labs that helps consumers interact with characters that are speaking in real time, that talk to them. Could be a doctor, for example, in the future, a doctor's assistant, could be a teacher, etc. And we've got various other application-oriented companies. Yellow.ai is another one in India, which is doing customer support using AI, including generative AI. So that's the second category. And the third category, which is a big area of focus for us, is in the middle, which is the technologies to make the LLMs programmable, secure, private, all of those problems that we've been talking about right now. And there's a bunch of companies coming along that area: vector databases, prompt engineering, observability, developer tools. There's a bunch of other technical stuff happening there that is very, very large, and very big companies have been built on previous generations of the web and mobile and those sorts of things. So those are the three categories. When it comes to India, I've seen less on the LLM side itself. I think that requires billions of dollars to go build those LLMs. Although, as recently as last week, we've seen a 7 billion parameter LLM running on a MacBook, open source. So that trend on cost coming down while functionality going up is very, very apparent. Kind of like Moore's law, but applied to AI on steroids. And so we see less of that in India, but we expect to see more open source, etc., being adopted in India. We see much more happening on the application side, companies like Merlin and Pepper and Yellow and others. But then we see a whole new category of tools coming in the middle. We've even signed a couple of term sheets in the last 2 weeks in this middle layer in India. So we see a lot more coming along there.
Well, a lot of exciting stuff going on that you're willing to put your money on, Dev. But Pratyush and Anirudh, very quickly before we wrap, in exactly 10 seconds each, and Anirudh, I'll start by asking you, what's the priority? What is if you have visibility on the next 12 to 18 months, what does it look like for you?
I think every company in the world today is mandated now almost to either integrate AI in their systems or have other application-based companies grow faster in product development and outbeat them, which basically means that I think every business out there which is going digital sooner or later will have to adapt to AI. And that's what we are seeing across all our customers, even for Pepper. I think we always say every company is going to be a content company. I might probably add an AI content company or that part for all of us out there.
Okay, that's a challenge that you're putting up for me. I have to then steer this ship to becoming an AI content-driven ship as well. But Pratyush, I'll give you the final say.
Yeah, I think Shereen, for us at Merlin, the direction which we are taking is that everywhere any human reads or writes, we are going to be there to help them integrate AI over there. And we are going to help them do their job in a much faster, much more creative manner. I think we are very fortunate enough that we live in a particular time wherein, small companies like us can actually move fast, can actually, invest deeply, thanks to also our investors, Better Capital, to, take a bet on this space and on us. I think what we are not, the only limitation currently which we have as a company and as an entire Indian economy is our own imagination. What all interesting use cases or applications can you imagine which can, drastically improve your productivity? For example, paper content is doing it very well for content creators. Merlin is doing very well for browser and general browser productivity. Yeah. I think the final question for all of the watchers over here is, what is it that you can imagine which can be enabled by AI? So that is where like traditionally Merlin and all other players I think going.
We're going to have to continue this dialogue as we look at this reimagination that you speak of and the disruption that all three of you have talked about. It's not going to be done here in this one conversation, but Dev, Anirudh and Pratyush, many thanks for joining us here to talk to us about what's happening here in India in the generative AI space. More importantly, what the opportunities and the landscape could potentially look like. We will have you back to chat about this some more. For now, we will say goodbye on this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here, thanks very much.